Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today. We're going to cover today how to launch your agency intranet in 30 minutes. We're going to start with a brief overview of why you can use an intranet, quickly how to set it up, and then within about a 30-minute time frame here, we'll have one up and running. So stay tuned, hold on tight, here we go. So for starters, why do we need an agency intranet? It can be a consistent homepage for all of your users. No more having to worry about who's got what, some people having this one and that one. Gives you a good spot for global company links to websites, a place for agency information, announcements, shared calendars. The calendar, however, does not integrate with Outlook. This is its own calendar. Spots for company document storage. We can centralize repositories for things like policies and procedures, training manuals, forms, and so on. Got a great feature too for a pictures library with thumbnail view. Fun for sharing company photos from events and whatnot. So for our intranet today, we are going to be talking about Microsoft SharePoint. This is a server-based intranet. It's going to run as a website. And we're going to be covering the SharePoint 2013 Foundation today, which is the free version. There is a big, expensive paid version that includes extra features that, honestly, most agencies probably are not going to take advantage of. Those are things for real big businesses that have their own programmers and developers, where they can tie into things like their own databases and whatnot. So the Foundation version, what you need to know, is the free version. We think it's the perfect solution for agencies. The requirements to run it are fairly modest. You need a Windows 2008 R2 server. Basically, that means if your server was from 2010 and newer, you probably have the right version. You need about a gig of time to download your files. So if you're doing this in a hurry, keep in mind there's about a gig's worth of stuff to download. You need about 8 free gigabytes of memory on your server and about 40 free hard drive space. We do want to make sure that you've got low processor usage on your server. So what all those things means is if you guys have servers that are all fairly loaded up and running on the slow side, you're probably going to need something extra to run SharePoint. You do need a little bit of free breathing room there. You also do need a SQL database server. It will work and install the free one, but if you're going to store more than 10 gigabytes of content, you do need a full version of the SQL database. So chances are your agency already has one. If not, you will need to buy that software if you're going to store lots and lots of stuff. But that 10 gig will probably take a long time to get there, and something you really don't need to worry about if you're going to store the kind of things I've already mentioned. So the installation is fairly straightforward, and it comes in 2 parts once you've done your downloads. I would recommend an IT person or your IT vendor take care of this for you. There are 2 parts, like I said, the prerequisites. Those take about half an hour and usually involve about 3 server reboots. After that, the installation of the SharePoint site itself takes about 15 minutes and another reboot. So with all of that said, obviously you're going to want to do this after hours or when it's convenient for the agency to have a little bit of a downtime from the reboots. The install is pretty straightforward. The only choices I recommend changing from the defaults near the end is in the last step. And those are unchecking options for using something called BDC. That's again a piece that lets you tie it into other database or custom solutions. If you have a developer on staff, they might actually be excited about that and want to use that feature. Also, I would recommend unchecking what's called the health data collection. These are components that will install services that will basically track and report usage on the site. It's kind of useful info, but I don't think agencies are going to really put use to it, and it does put a heavy load on your server. So I'd recommend uninstalling those 2 components. So without further ado, we're going to hop right into a demo. I've got a server set up where we've already done the installation, so it took about an hour to get to this point because we did run it on a slower demo server. So without further ado, let's show you the solution and how to set up your site. So now you can see we are on our SharePoint site. This is the starting page that you get after you've done your installation. What you're going to see about SharePoint as we go through the demo is it's designed to be point and click. You don't have to be a web programmer or a techie to learn to use and to navigate through your SharePoint site. So again, here's our page. At the top, we've got some control buttons, if you will. We're on the browse mode right now. Sharing our site is going to basically send everybody information about it so they can access it. Edit is just that. I'm going to show you the edit mode real quick. Starting with the last version of SharePoint, actually, Microsoft was nice enough to change the navigation to work just like Microsoft Office. So that makes editing the site quick and simple, yet familiar as well. Go back out of edit mode here. On the left-hand side, we have our navigation bar, and then on the top, another one as well. You'll see both of them have spots to edit links, to make them custom, and I'll show you how to do those. Each component in SharePoint is called a web part. So at the top here, by default, Microsoft gives us our Getting Started with Your Site web part. Great handy tool, and we are going to use this to launch our site today. And then by default, it also gives us a Documents web part down below. You'll notice that I have this plus sign to add new documents. I've got these edit links, the edit site button. Keep in mind, I am logged in as our administrator right now, so if you're a standard user on the network, you're not going to see those. The site is going to look even more simplified and streamlined, but we do see those things as an administrator. So again, share your site is what you do when you're ready to announce the site to everyone. We're going to skip by that today, but that would be your last step that you do. Adding lists, libraries, or other apps. That's basically going through our catalog of web parts, and I'm going to step through each one, give you an overview of what they are, and then we're going to quickly add some for our site. Under the noteworthy section, Microsoft gives us shortcuts to a few of the common ones. I'm going to go through the complete list for us today. So under apps that we can add, our first is a document library. I do want to show you that once you click on the app details, it'll open up a page and give you a brief overview of what this app is for. So document libraries is for file storage. This would take the place of maybe folders or repositories you've got somewhere on your network, your F drive, your G drive, wherever they might be, for things like, again, employee manuals, training guides, and so on and so forth. So we're going to add a document library, and once we add a web part, it does give us the opportunity to type in a name, and we're going to call this one our agency doc library. And we'll click create, and then it'll take us back to our list of web parts. So I'm going to add another app. Form libraries. That is for creating your own forms. It ties in with a program called Microsoft InfoPath. It's usually in the professional version of Office. You can have your own wiki. This is similar to Wikipedia. We internally also have a wiki that we use for our service and support knowledge base. So it might be great to have, let's say, a personal lines wiki, or even just an agency wiki that you break out into different sections. You can put things in there like your procedures, how-tos, rating guides, and so on and so forth. A picture library. It's similar to a documents library, but tuned specifically for pictures. So we can use this for storing photos, and it gives us the displays in a thumbnail view. And we're going to call this one Agency Photos. Back to our web parts library. We've got spots for links. This would be like global favorites put out on our site. We're going to call this one Carriers. Very common use we see that agencies take advantage of. Announcements. Think about this like just news blasts, what's new, or even a blog. So we're going to call this one Agency News. And that'll give us opportunity to tell our staff what's coming and what's new in the agency. We've got room for contacts. So this would be taking place of, say, contact lists you keep in Excel spreadsheets somewhere. It'll make a embedded contact list right into the site. We've got room for calendars. Again, these are calendars that are going to be separate to SharePoint. They're not integrated with Outlook, but I think very friendly nonetheless. So we're going to call this one our vacation calendar. I know we're all anxious to put something in there for ourselves, right? Back to our list again. We've got room for a discussion board, and this discussion board is like having your own web forum. So if you're Applied Systems or Vertafore, you guys know that your users groups have their own websites with their own discussion boards. You have opportunity for your own. Again, all these things we're adding, you can add as many of them as you want, give them different names, tune them for different purposes. Promoted links, similar to links, but these are ones that are going to have dynamic content. Tasks and issue tracking, those are similar. They are like tasks in Outlook. I'm going to add a task here, and most time agencies don't really use tasks or think of a reason for them. But I'm going to give you, I think, a very relevant example, and let's call this one 2016 Agency Goals. Issue tracking, again, is similar to tasks. It's just more tuned for being assigned to different people. Custom list and datasheet view, as well as external lists. These are similar to contacts, where they're designed to be like embedded spreadsheets into your SharePoint site. So if you've got lists of things you keep and update in spreadsheets, I would encourage you to see if it might be just as friendly, if not better, to have them in SharePoint. We use this for tracking things like network addresses and whatnot. So it's nice having them right in our site. So custom list lets you make your own. Datasheet view just gives you a slightly different view. An external list actually ties to a list sitting somewhere in a database, for example. You can also have surveys. They're just what they sound like. You've got different options to add your voting choices for surveys, and then it shows you results overall once people have taken the surveys. And in our last page, we have an option to import a spreadsheet. So like I said, those data sheet and contact list views are set up to be like spreadsheets. But if you've already got those spreadsheets, we don't want to take the time to manually rekey everything. SharePoint makes it easy and gives us this import spreadsheet part, which you then simply will browse for a spreadsheet, and it pulls it right into the site for you. So we're going to go back to our site. You can get there by clicking this icon, or back to our site by clicking this. So we're back at our front. We've added some lists and libraries. I'm now going to go into what is our style. So SharePoint comes with many predefined themes, and you can download lots more online. And this gives you an opportunity to very quickly customize the look and feel of your SharePoint. Let's say the agency's got a different color set of their own, where you've put your branding around. And let's say it's gray with a mix of colors and some blacks, so kind of like this. So we're going to choose this one for our example here. And it gives you a little preview of what your site's going to look like, kind of a gray theme with some different color accents. So we're going to say, let's try it out. This, like many other things in SharePoint, does take a minute to process because it's doing a lot of work. Again, here's a preview of our site, kind of a grayscale, simple looking theme. We're going to say, yes, let's keep it. So now we've got our new color scheme and theme for our site. Finally, we are going to set our brand and our logo. So the brand really is saying, what do we want to call our site? And we're going to name this our agency portal. Give us an opportunity to add our own logo, and what that'll do is that'll put our company logo right up here, and then a description of the text that you'll see if you mouse over it. So I'll click OK, and now we can see now our site is called Agency Portal, and we've got a link for it up here. So we've got lots of things we've added in the background, if you will. I want to put them in our site now and actually get some content there. Let's start using this thing. So what we're going to do for starters is I am going to remove our Getting Started bar. That way we can make the site our own. See, very quick and simple. Now I am going to go into edit mode. Again, that gives us our ribbon. We've got this documents library here for starters, and I'm going to clear that out too. You can manipulate and remove existing web parts by using these icons on the top right. I'm going to click this down arrow and choose delete, say OK. And now we've got a nice blank slate. So before we get into adding our web parts, I want to kind of set the layout of our site. Right now we've got this one column, so it's real big and doesn't give us a lot of room to put a lot of stuff out there, spreading things out. So I'm going to go over to text layout, and you see we've got lots of different choices for what we want to do. A column with a sidebar, 2 columns, and so on and so forth. For the design of our site, I am going to choose 2 columns with a header. So now we've got this. Take note that you can type into any one of these and add your own custom designs, links, pictures with all the controls up here. But what I am going to do is I'm going to clear my text out. And in my web part, I'm first going to center this at the top. Going to go over to insert, and we're going to add our web parts. So at the top, front and center, I want my agency news. Again, that was the announcements web part that we used. I'm going to get rid of our white space here. Oops, delete one too many times. And now on our left column, I'm going to insert another one of our web parts. And first, let's put our documents. You know what? I'm going to not add our documents, but add our agency documents custom one that I made. We're going to call that the agency doc library. On the right-hand side, we are going to add our carriers, which again is our links web part. That'll give us room to put those. Below that, I'm going to put our agency goals. Again, that's a task list web part. Below our doc library, well, let's fill in with our agency photos. And then finally, our vacation calendar. Okay, I'm going to save our view. And now here's our site with lots more room for content already. So let's add some stuff. Again, as an administrator, I've got these options to edit lists, make new announcements, these edit links. Your users aren't going to see those. So we're going to add a new announcement, and I'll show you how quick and simple it is to add content to your site. We're going to say upcoming company picnic. Great feature of announcements and a couple other parts in SharePoint is it gives you an expiration. So let's just say that our company picnic is coming up next Friday. Well, next Saturday, I'm going to have that expire, so it's not there anymore. And this is where you can put details of your picnic. Let's click Save. And now here comes our company picnic. For our doc library, let's add some files to it. Keep in mind, you can add lots of folders here and put files in subfolders too. So let's add this file here. Click OK. Very quick, as you can see. If you've got lots of stuff to add, I'll take note that you can click this upload link using Windows Explorer 2, and that gives you a nice open window that's basically like a spot to save a file under My Computer, where you can just copy and paste files in bulk too. It makes it quick. For our carriers, we're going to add some links here. This gives us a spot to enter the URL, so we're just going to add a few to quickly fill some content. You can click Test here to obviously open up that page. If you enter a description, it's going to show the description. If you don't enter a description, it will just show you the web address. So I'm just going to enter the descriptions for our links in this case. What would you put in for notes? Maybe a brief description for what we use this site for. Or if the agency maybe has one login for this site, you can put the agency's general login in here in the notes. So I'm going to click OK. I'm going to take a minute and add a couple more. This will hopefully give us a better view of how the site will look once it's filled out with some info. So we've got our links out there for our carriers. We'll pretend we're a carrier. For our agency goals, let's add some new items. So let's say sales plus 50% year over year. And we're going to make this a start date, obviously, of the beginning of the year. And then we'll make a end date of the last day of the year. You can obviously key in your dates here as well, so I'll show you how both work just the same. And then you can assign it to different people or leave it general. So there's our goal. Shows you where we're at. As far as agency photos goes, same as adding items to our document library. You can click new picture, you can drag and drop things. When we click new, you again have the option to browse or to upload using Windows Explorer. So same dialog as you can see. Not going to add any photos here for this example. For our calendar, let's just say that I'm going to be going on vacation next week, just so you can see how they look. Just like you're used to entering in Outlook, you've got information for location, start date, start time. We're going to set it for all of next week. Let's make this an all-day event. You can categorize them for these different items as you see here, and even make recurrences. So let's save this, and there's my vacation. So again, quick and easy to add lots of content to our site, as you can see. And what I'm going to do now is show you how to do a little bit of customization. So let's hover over our agency document library in edit mode. And note here too, we have an option for editing our web part. So I'm going to click edit. It'll take a minute to open the editing pane. And what it did is on the right hand side now, we've got some extra controls. So each web part has its own list of selectable views. As you can see here, this one has a view called All Documents and another one for Summary View. I'm going to change this to All Documents. It's going to tell us that, hey, you're updating your view. We're going to refresh your page. Click OK. And now let's go over to our carriers. We're going to do the same. But this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my own custom view where I'm going to change the order of what we see. Show you how easy that is. So instead of doing what we were doing before, just choosing, I'm going to hit Edit Current View. And this is going to take us into the custom editor. Just want to show you how quick it is to rearrange things. So let's just say that I want our URL to show up first, and then I want the name to be next. So we'll say OK. And now what it does is it puts the URL first. For calendars, let's go back into edit mode. Calendar, you've got a couple of interesting options. This may or may not dissuade you from using the calendar. After you see the options, you might say, oh, okay, now that makes more sense. I like that better. So in calendars, we've got views for calendar, current events, or summary. So I'll change it to show current events, just so you can see the difference. So current events, as you can see, it gets rid of the calendar view and puts items into list mode. So maybe a little friendly that way to see. Keeps it smaller. So I'm going to hit save. Now we can get a good look at our site. On the left-hand side, you'll notice under recent, I've got a bunch of items here that have come in automatically. The site is nice enough to do that for us, and it's going to do it automatically. Now let's say we want to put other stuff out there in our site. Let's just hit edit links. We can drag and drop links here, or even just click the plus and add our own custom links. And this can even be to things that are outside of SharePoint. So, cool feature. Again, you can do them both on the top and on the left. So I'll click cancel here. Show you a couple other more important things. So this time I'm going to click the gear up at the top, and I'm going to go to Site Settings. So what I want to point out next is People and Groups. This is where you set the site to show who can access what. Note on the left-hand side, under Groups, we have 3 to start. We've got a SharePoint Test Site Members. That's the name I gave our site. SharePoint Site Visitors, and then Owners. Once you set up your SharePoint lists and libraries, you're going to want to decide who you want to have what kind of access to what place. So overall, right now, I didn't set any special permissions on each one of my spots. So everybody's going to have the permissions they fall under into one of these groups. Members, that gives people the ability to add content and view it. Visitors is only view it, so they won't see the add new content button. And then owners is what I see. That gives you the ability to not only add content, but to edit the site too. So let's say we want to add a couple of visitors to our site. And you can see here we've added Jane Doe and John Doe. Those are some of our network users. To add people, all you do is come in here and start typing their name or email address, and it picks them right out of your network. You click share, and now once they browse to your site, they will have visitor permission, meaning they'll see all the content. A few other things under our site settings before we close. You've got lots of room here for doing manual stuff with your site. If you want to add more items manually, you can use the site's library and lists. As you can see here, here's our list. Clicking create new content takes us back to that familiar place we saw earlier. So I'm going to go back to our site settings once more. Note of a few other things. There is a recycle bin, so if people accidentally delete things, this gives you the opportunity to bring them back. Again, this is a spot so that only site owners can get to. If you want to get back to editing our site look and feel and description, you'll do those up here. So title, site logo, right where we saw before from our little quick start bar. The quick launch, these again are the items on the left. If you want to add new navigation links, which is this, new heading, which is these main items, and rearrange, you can click change order. It's as simple as just, let's say we're going to move this to 4, and then 4 automatically will change to 3. Click OK, and now our items have been rearranged. See it once we go back. That's all it takes. Last but not least, under site settings, again, you can change the look. And that's where we pick our themes. We're going to change this to our greenish theme. For those of us out in the East Lansing area, I know you'll appreciate this one. Go Spartans. So setting up our SharePoint site, as you can see, is just that easy. What I encourage everyone to do as you're thinking about what you're going to do is lay out what kind of stuff you want out there first. Second, create your web parts. Third, set your layout. And then fourth, start adding content. Again, you don't have to be a programmer to do this, as you can see how easy it is to point and click. So what you might choose to do is add different sections for different departments of your company. And then you can make maybe the department managers or a techie person in that department the owner of just that section. And you've thus delegated permission and ownership to those different parts. So you don't even have to have just one person who is responsible for your SharePoint site. You can have lots of different people in the agency take ownership. So again, we thank you for joining us for our webinar today. We hope that you will join us for future webinars. Our next webinar is going to be about backups, data retention, and archiving. So thank you again, everyone. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll talk to you soon.